Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the absolute high-stakes tactical battles for today's round of 16 knockout matches. So, if you want to know exactly how these games are going to be won or lost, literally before a single ball is even kicked, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's get right into the whiteboard.
Here's what is on the docket for today. 1. The round of 16 kickoff. 2. Canada versus Morocco. Strategy. 3. Canada versus Morocco. Matchups. 4. Paraguay versus France. Strategy. 5. Paraguay versus France. Matchups. And finally, 6. Keys to final victory. Section 1, the round of 16 kickoff. Today's slate is just unbelievable. We've got two completely distinct tactical battles lined up at 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. that are going to thoroughly test every single team's identity. At noon, we've got Canada taking on Morocco, and then followed up by Paraguay clashing with France at 4 p.m. I mean, these aren't just games, right? They are absolute head-on collisions of tactical philosophy.
Section 2, Canada versus Morocco. Strategy.
The contrast between these two squads is honestly wild. On one hand, Canada is bringing this blistering transitional speed and high-energy pressing, and they're totally fueled by the emotional, atmospheric advantage of playing on their home continent. But then on the other side, you have Morocco. This is a team entirely defined by elite defensive organization and serious back-to-back knockout experience. Think back to that massive 2022 semifinal run. So you've got Canada's raw straight-line speed trying to catch fullbacks out of position, going right up against Morocco's battle-tested ability to just absorb immense pressure.
Now, the whole thing really hinges on this specific concept: half-court possession setups. That's when the attacking team controls the ball in the opponent's half against a deep, organized defensive block. See, when Canada is forced to break down rigid blocks in these scenarios, they actually severely lack deep tactical flexibility. If they push their fullbacks super high to try and break through, bam, it leaves their center backs heavily exposed on the counter. And Morocco? Well, they are a team that absolutely excels at soaking up pressure and striking back instantly on those exact counterattacks.
Section 3, Canada versus Morocco. Matchups. Looking at these projected starting 11s, you can see exactly where the individual battles are going to be won or lost. Canada is relying heavily on the blistering pace of Davies and Buchanan out wide to feed David and Larin up top. Meanwhile, Morocco counters with this incredibly solid defensive spine. I mean, trying to get past Size and Aguerd is a nightmare for literally any team, especially with Bounou in goal. And they're shielded perfectly by that robust midfield trio. This chess match across the pitch is going to dictate the entire tempo of the noon kickoff.
Canada's biggest weapon honestly boils down to one number: 99. That represents the 99th percentile, which is exactly where Canada's Alphonso Davies ranks globally among wide players for progressive carries, successful take-ons, and top sprint speed. It's just off the charts.
So Davies provides this world-class explosive ball carrying from deep areas. He makes these rapid, overlapping runs that completely warp opposition defenses out of shape. And up top, he's paired with Jonathan David. David brings elite pressing from the front and some seriously intelligent off-the-ball movement. He's a high-volume goal scorer who routinely outperforms his expected goals. Together, these two are the razor-sharp tip of the spear for Canada's transitional threat.
On the flip side, look at the two guys tasked with countering that for Morocco. Achraf Hakimi operates almost as a winger in possession. He provides relentless attacking thrust, leading his squad in final third entries. But because he pushes so incredibly high, he needs cover. That is exactly where Sofyan Amrabat comes in. Amrabat is an absolute midfield destroyer. He uses immense physical strength to just break down opposition attacks. The guy is a total monster when it comes to ball recoveries and tackle success rates.
Section 4, Paraguay versus France. Strategy.
Okay, moving to the 4 p.m. game, you can really see the audacious nature of Paraguay's task here. It's gritty, it's relentless. Paraguay brings an unapologetically physical defensive block. They definitely lack elite ball retention capabilities, which means they're going to be pinned deep in their own half for sure, but they are fantastic at disrupting rhythm, and they are a massive, massive threat on set pieces. Then you look at France. They have arguably the deepest squad on the planet. Unmatched transition speed, clinical finishing. Basically, Paraguay's entire strategy is going to be to instigate a chaotic physical brawl, draw fouls in dangerous areas, and try to steal a goal to upset the tournament favorites.
If Paraguay is actually going to pull off this shocker, you've got to keep this metric in mind: expected threat, or XT. This evaluates how much a player's actions, like a pass or a dribble, increase their team's probability of scoring. Now, Paraguay's Julio Enciso generates highly efficient expected threat from way outside the penalty box. In a game where Paraguay might only get, 2 or maybe 3 looks at goal, his audacious, long-range shooting might literally be their only lifeline.
Section 5, Paraguay versus France, matchups.
Just look at the sheer overwhelming talent France is fielding across every single position here. It almost feels unfair, doesn't it? A backline anchored by Saliba and Upamecano, a midfield engine of Kanté and Tchouaméni, and a frankly terrifying front three. For Paraguay, players like Balbuena and Alderete in defense and Coronel in goal are going to be required to put in an absolutely heroic shift just to weather the storm that's coming for them. Now, when Paraguay does manage to win the ball back, they're going to desperately rely on Miguel Almirón. He's got a relentless defensive work rate for an attacker, and he acts as their primary transition outlet, covering massive distances just to relieve the pressure on his team. And up front with him is Julio Enciso, bringing that wild unpredictability and lethal long-range threat we just talked about. They basically have to catch France completely sleeping in transition to have a chance.
But catching France sleeping? Yeah, that's incredibly difficult when you have to deal with a team that has the player who leads the global charts in this critical metric right here, goals per 90 minutes.
That player, of course, is Kylian Mbappé. He brings absolute generational speed and devastating finishing ability. He leads the world in touches in the attacking box and high-speed sprints. Honestly, he has the ability to win the match single-handedly in a split second. But don't overlook the man pulling the strings, Antoine Griezmann. Griezmann is the true tactical brain of the squad. He leads France in expected assists and key passes, all while aggressively controlling the offensive tempo. He's going to be the one trying to pick the lock of Paraguay's heavy defensive block.
Section 6, keys to final victory.
So when you watch the early game today, keep your eyes heavily fixed on the space behind Hakimi. Because Hakimi attacks so relentlessly, that space is exactly where Canada is going to try to unleash Davies on the counter to win the match. Step 1 for Canada is exploiting that space. Step 2 for Morocco, they absolutely must use their elite midfield pivot to neutralize those counters, completely controlling the emotional tempo of the crowd. And step 3, because Canada struggles in half-court possession, they just have to be absolutely clinical with the limited chances they actually get.
As for the late game, the blueprint is beautifully simple but incredibly difficult. Step 1, Paraguay literally has to play the defensive game of their lives with 11 men behind the ball. Step 2, they need to disrupt France's rhythm with tactical fouls in hunt for a set-piece goal. Now for France, step 3 is all about composure. They must use exceptionally quick horizontal ball circulation to shift that heavy block around and find an early clinical finish, forcing Paraguay to finally abandon their shell.
So, as you settle in to watch these incredible matchups, the ultimate question really remains. Which tactical philosophy is going to survive the round of 16? Will raw transitional speed and gritty physical blocks triumph today? Or will elite defensive organization and overwhelming generational talent march on? Keep your eyes on the tactics. Watch the spaces we talked about, and I hope you enjoy the games. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.